Alright, how's it going, guys? Jeff here. So today it's Monday, and if you haven't checked out my video on the V-shaped recovery in the market during war times, you can check it out in my channel. I actually explain a little bit about how this V-shaped recovery is not something that you really want to be really looking forward to because there is still a lot of uncertainty behind this V-shaped recovery, especially with the 48 hours that we just went through, which is the weekends. And more things could actually transpire within this 48 hours, especially with the whole entire Russian and Ukraine situation. So, what actually happened? To give you guys just a brief summary, Zelensky, which is the president of Ukraine, will be going over to Belarus borders to have a meeting with Putin. Hopefully, because for Zelensky's point of view, he just wants to make sure that the Ukrainians will not be, they will not be angry at the fact that there was a possible slight chance where Ukraine could actually end the war, but because of Zelensky's lack of willingness to even meet Putin at Belarus border, he do not want to make that the only excuse for them to actually miss out on the chance of ending this war. So Zelensky is going over to the meeting. Of course, he do say that he do not really expect much result, and honestly speaking, his worst case scenario could be death. But of course, we do not know what would actually come out from the meeting. So in the past 48 hours, a lot have happened. A lot more civilians have died. A lot more buildings got shot down. Kiev is still standing, but the Russian military has already invaded into Kiev, taking up more than half of Kiev already, as it is. So, yeah, anyway, let's cover some news today. All right, so before we actually begin with all the news and such, because right now it is 10 minutes to pre-market opening, so I'll just show you guys a little bit of the futures reading so that you guys can kind of see what's going on in the futures. S&P future is down about 2%, almost 2%. Dow is down about 1.5%. The Nasdaq is down about a good 2% as well. Russell is down, like also around 2% ish, almost 3%, 2 to 3%. So yeah, the futures are not really doing that well. Of course, by the end of this video, hopefully we would get some readings on the market when it opens. But anyway, let's head over to Wall Street Journal to see if there are any live updates on the whole Russia-Ukraine situation. Over here, you can see this is also one of the big news that actually happened in the 48 hours, which is that Vladimir Putin ordered the country's nuclear deterrence forces to be put on alert. Okay, so this basically means that Russia is really prepared for an all-out war as compared to a military action that he actually said before, which is why a lot of people were very, very worried. The second thing that Russia actually did that was pretty huge is that the central bank, basically the Federal Reserve, raised its key interest rates to 20% from 9.5% as Western sanctions sent the ruble, which is their currency, into a dive and threatened to better the nation's economy. So for people who are unaware, sanctions by US, by Japan, by Europe, all the European countries, be it Germany, France, UK, all of them has already sent out sanctions. Even Singapore have also sent out sanctions to stop Russia in its track. For France and Germany, which is the key player for the whole SWIFT banking and such, they have also banned Russia from using the SWIFT banking. And for people who are unaware of what SWIFT banking is, basically it's this messaging code between banks. And if you are being banned from the SWIFT banking system, you're basically paralyzed from doing any sort of transaction overseas in general. If for Singaporeans, we actually use our DBS and OCBC and whatever it is when we do remittance or we do overseas transfer, they usually ask for a SWIFT code. That's the messaging code all the banks basically use. And now Russia has been completely banned off the whole SWIFT messaging system. So that's going to paralyze their overseas transfer by a huge margin. So the European Union, for the first time, financed the purchase and delivery of weapons to show support for Ukraine, which is very, very important, because for Ukraine, even for Zelensky, he has also said, send us ammunition, do not send me for a ride. He do not want out of the country. He wants to make sure that the country can fight and win this war. Of course, that is a very, very brave sort of thing. If he do come out alive from this, which I really sincerely hope he does, he will definitely, without a doubt, be named a hero of the country. And yeah, I kind of hope that becomes the case. I think it's a very, very good story to tell. Well, the EU is also banning Russian planes from its airspace, which is also very, very huge. Even all the countries now are also banning airspace via sanctions. So Singapore do not allow any more Russian airplanes to come in and out of the country. Same with your EU, same with your Japan, same with United Kingdom and such. So yeah, okay. And also BP said that you exit nearly 20% stake in Rosneft. I will actually talk more about this because I have it tagged later on. Will be talking more about that later on. So yeah, from the SWIFT network, the US, the EU, the UK, Canada also said it will take measures to prevent Russia's central bank from deploying its foreign reserve to support its currency and economy. So with them basically trying to increase the interest rate from 9.5% all the way to 20%, they are almost trying to have this last effort to really save the central bank a little bit to increase the rates. But with that efforts, they basically are going to destroy every other markets that they do have. So that's going to be very, very bad for the country. But of course, they need to save the central bank because they need the funds up as much as they can. And the thing about the whole EU and Russia situation, because Russia needs to sell their energy to EU as much as EU needing to buy the energy from Russia. They need each other as much as the other party, and because of this kind of become a very, very iffy situation for Europe, because if they don't get the energy from Russia, they have to get it from somewhere else. And with Nord Stream 2 being halted, European countries are not getting their cheap energy prices from Russia, and because of that, they might have to pay a little bit more for more energy prices, either from your Saudi Arabia or other countries. So to put into context, Russia is the second highest energy creator. Yeah, well, the biggest energy producer, right behind Saudi Arabia at number 2. And because of that, with Russia basically being in this war is going to really take Russia out of the supply chain. And because of this, we're going to go back into the whole macroeconomics all over again, where because we have a huge player out of the market, there's going to be a lot of supply chain issues. Oil prices are going to go up, which is why you saw Brent price going up, WTI price going up. Prices of barrel of oil is going up to $103 per barrel, and I can see it going even higher, which a lot of people probably would do so as well. All right, so over here you can see Ukraine hosts Kiev as talks with Russia agreed. Germany rearms to counter threat from Russia. Okay, these are all things that we already know of. Norway's energy giant to exit Russia. Okay, so this is a new news as well. Exiting Russia right now is a very favorable move, basically to show that you do not want to mess with NATO. So it would make sense for people to do so. Yeah, Singapore now sanctioned against Russia. I did read up on the Vivian Balakrishnan when he actually talked about the sanctions. But same thing, I don't think Singapore is going to be too overboard with the sanctions either, because Singapore as a country, we are quite politically centralized. We do not want to go on either side, and we do not want to be on anyone's bad side. So yeah, they are basically just doing very, very normal economic sanctions, similar to what Japan is doing as well. Russia Central Bank. Okay, this is something that we already know of. Yeah, the cyber bank is down. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So that's basically the those are the live updates for the whole Russia-Ukraine situation. All right, so let's get down to the stocks future. Man, this is sad. Okay, so the S&P dropped 2.6%. The Nasdaq down 2.7%. Do they have the Dow Jones? They don't have the Dow Jones, but it's okay. You can kind of see what the market is looking like for the futures. This actually happened about 4 hours ago. So, of course, these numbers are going to be a little bit changed when the pre-market actually open. But yeah, the pre-market is going to open in about a minute or so. But anyway, the escalation of tension over Moscow invasion of Ukraine has heightened anxieties in the financial markets. Of course, we already understand it. How it might affect plans by the Federal Reserve to raise interest rates. Like I said before, I do not think that this would have put that big of a dent in the Federal Reserve for them to really increase their interest rates. But of course, I do think that it will be a talking point in the FOMC meeting that's going to be on the 15th of March, which should be in about 2 weeks or so. Events are moving so fast. Concerns among clients are for hedging opportunities and ways to mitigating market volatility. So yeah, I think I talk about this a lot as well. Where in this sort of market, pre-market is up. The SPY is down by about 1.8%. Okay, yeah, I mean I did expect them to be falling anyway, but okay. So anyway, events are moving so fast. Concern among clients are for hedging opportunities and ways of mitigating market volatility. So I've been talking about this a lot as well, because when we're actually in this kind of market where we are in this like sideways market throughout, it's better for us to actually have hedging instruments in a way. But of course, in the bigger scheme of things, it's better for you to just buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold. Just buy the dip, buy and hold, buy the dip and hold, buy the dip and hold. Of course, that is have been known to be the best instrument and the best yield till date, basically, because people who are actually doing this for 10 years, 20 years, usually you just do this, you're going to have pretty good returns, especially if you're just using the indexes. Better not to get into like individual stocks if you want to do those kind of investing. But yeah, like I said before, but for myself, I am someone who is more of an active trader. Of course, I like to invest as well. I have my investing portfolio and I have my trading portfolio. And I do think that for my trading portfolio, basically I have hedging mechanics to help with my investing portfolio, which is why I buy, sell options almost every single week. That's kind of my way of mitigating the market volatility. Of course, at the same time, there is a very, very good chance that I get destroyed on I get destroyed on implied volatility, and I get destroyed on theta decay, because all these options usually tend to expire worthless. So be it I'm the one who is writing the contract or I'm the one who is buying the contract. Either way, chances are they're all going to expire worthless. And it just depends if I'm the one that's writing it or I'm the one who's buying it. And chances are I buy a lot more than I write, because buying the option is a lot less risky. But at the same time, you tend to lose out completely on all the options that you actually buy. But that's a whole nother video that I kind of don't want to talk more about here. All right, anyway. He favors financial stocks and energy assets, and also Chinese sovereign bonds denominated in yuan. Oil prices rebounded. Most actively traded futures for Brent crude, the global oil benchmark, rising 5.2% to $99 a barrel. That's crazy. Okay, so for people who were unaware of how oil prices basically moved on the news of the invasion, prices of crude went all the way to $103. And afterwards, in the same day, we saw prices of crude go all the way down to $91 or $92. And that was also why we call it a V-shaped recovery. But for oil, because during wartime scenario, you kind of have a spike in oil and then it kind of come back down. kind of the inverse V-shaped recovery. So during that period of time when prices of oil basically went back all the way down to $91, it kind of made a lot of sense for people who are still very, very concerned and very, very anxious about this market to really buy into oil. But like I said before, I don't like to dabble with commodities as much, and because of that, I kind of stay away from commodities. But I do look at commodities as a way of a lagging indicator of the market, because with commodities, especially with your aluminum, nickel, and wheat, which is the main commodities that's being produced in Ukraine and Russia, those are the ones that is usually the indicator for the entire market to really see what the market is actually doing. But yeah, because of oil prices now basically rebounding back, having the V-shaped recovery that we are talking about in the other way, shape or form. All right, Brent prices last week surged about $100 a barrel for the first time since 2014, all the way to $103. Okay, yeah, this is things that we already know of. All right, over the weekend, the US, European Union, Canada, and UK said they intended to cut off some Russian banks from the SWIFT network, a global payment system that connects international bank and facilities cross-border financial transfer. So I talked about this earlier as well. And also just like a fun fact kind of thing, the US basically already wanted to cut off the SWIFT network, I think on Friday, but I think it was only France and Germany are the one that didn't want to do so, because they are the one that actually rely on this network, rely on Russia using this network for a lot of their transfers. But yeah, but even then, they also put a cork on it. So, all right, growing tensions between Moscow and the West. Vladimir Putin ordered Russia's nuclear deterrence forces to be put on alert. The move would put Russia's network of nuclear missiles into a state in which it could be used if necessary. So basically, Putin is ready for war. Like I said before, this line on its own, this small paragraph on its own, is enough to scare the bejesus out of anyone. Because of this line alone, it simply means that if any of the NATO country were to try to even touch Russia, or even want even if the sentence or the term targeting Russia is out in mainstream media, Russia can easily send a nuclear strike to that state and a lot of people will die. And that is true that they can just do that and they can just wage the war basically, and then they can fight it out. Russia would eventually lose, highly possible for Russia to lose, especially if you're going against NATO. But it doesn't really matter even if NATO were to win, because a lot of people are going to die from the initial nuclear strike, and because of that, that's where the fear is actually coming from. And I think Putin have really proven one thing to all of us, which is that he is not a coward. When he was talking about targeting Ukraine and possibly invading into Ukraine, a lot of us thought that, there's a high chance that he wouldn't, but he did. And it just brings forth this sort of weird fear in a lot of us that now he's actually putting out his nuclear deterrence on alert. And this basically, I'm not gonna lie, like I have like goosebumps. I'm pretty sure none of y'all can see it, but like I have goosebumps talking about this, because just think about how if someone is, just at home and Russia just decided to send a missile down to your state and like 10,000 people die just like that. So yeah, that's how it is, which is why I can see why fear in the market. I definitely can understand fear in the market right now. It's totally understandable, and it is not in short of. I think fear as of now is the biggest driving force in the entire market right now. The entire market, everyone is just very confused, cautious, of course. Similar to what I've been talking about. generally all the investors should be very, very cautious right now. But yeah. All right, enough about this. Let's look at other things. Okay. No, yeah, this is done. Okay, US looks to make China pay for close ties to Russia in Ukraine crisis. Okay, honestly speaking, I'm just going to tell you guys because chances are for the next few weeks, the news covering is going to be mostly about Russia and Ukraine because that's what the mainstream media is going to be covering on end. It's going to be hard for us to actually look at companies and such, and because earnings season is also over, so there won't be as much talk about the companies and such, mostly just about the indexes, because we're going to see how the major indexes are working out in this time of crisis. So if you're not interested in the Russia-Ukraine entire fiasco, well, chances are you probably can skip a few weeks of news until this whole thing dies down. But I'll see how it goes. All right, but anyway, US wants to pry China away from its tight partnership with Russia. One step US officials said is making Beijing feel pain over Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Washington is looking to gain from any diversion between Moscow and Beijing, the official said. And Russia's full-scale assault on Ukraine is an opportunity to force China to choose between siding with Russia and maintaining valuable economic ties to Europe, the US, and the other parts of the world. I think that this is a very, very dangerous game that the US is really trying to play here, because what they're trying to do is that, your friend screwed up, and now we're gonna pin it on you. So if you want to throw your friend under the bus, then we will continue to have neutral relationship with you guys. And if you decide to side with your friend who screwed up, then we are going to possibly be on very, very bad terms with you, even to the point of extending economical sanctions to China. Of course, I'm not sure if that's possible or not, but extending sanctions over to China would be almost a very, very war case scenario, like I said before. So that's gonna be a doozy. That's gonna be a doozy. All right, punitive economic measures imposed on Russia, particularly export controls on certain technologies, would potentially hit China if its businesses and banks try to help Moscow, according to the officials. If China or any other countries wants to engage in activity that would be subject to our sanctions, they will be subject to our sanctions, a State Department official said. So like I said before, I did not even read this, so I was just thinking about it. If China or any other countries want to engage in activity that would be subject to our sanctions, they will be subject to our sanctions. So almost speaking as if, if China were to help Russia even more, we are going to sanction China as well, basically. Yeah. I think I'm not sure about US move on this one. I really think that we're treading on a very, very thin line right now. Especially with Russia and Ukraine having this whole situation at the moment. I don't think US really want to be taking this fight right now. It kind of seems like US is kind of like the parent, and because the children are fighting, US, the parent, think that you know what, I'm going to go talk to your parent instead, which is China, and almost to the point where US is trying to make China whole responsible for what Russia has done. Kind of weird. I don't know what US really want to get out of this. Okay. BP to exit from stake in Russia's Rosneft following pressure from UK. So for people who do not know, BP is basically this energy giant in UK. Said Sunday it will exit its nearly 20% stake in a Russian government-controlled oil producer Rosneft, days after it was pressured to unload the holdings by UK officials and Russia invasion of Ukraine. I'm just gonna say this. This is super duper smart, because what BP basically did here was getting out of a 20% stake in an oil-producing company that is at its all-time high because it was in a war situation. Just look at this, okay? Rosneft was up 12% that day, okay? And they are getting out 20% stake at the all-time high, because we have already said it before that oil prices are at its all-time high because of war scenario. And for an oil-producing company, you're probably also all the way up high there. So yeah, I think it's very, very smart. Of course, I'm not saying that this is called timing the market by the governments and such. It's really because they are trying to handicap Russia right now. They want to handicap Russia at every single point. They want to make sure that they are unable to really make any more economic move in the future, which is very, very smart. But at the same time, it's even smarter when you think about it. UK basically just like made a lot of money. Like BP made a lot of money doing this trade. I'm just saying, okay. Faces potential loss. Nah, it's not loss at all. Encompassing the maximum possible impact of selling the Rosneft stake, valued at 14 billion, plus a big expected charge related to foreign exchange loss. Okay, if you're talking about foreign exchange losses, I get, but at the same time, I don't think it's that huge of a deal. I'm pretty sure that BP probably earn more than a potential loss. This is quite BS. Currently, BP relies on Rosneft for roughly 1/3 of its oil and gas production. Okay, this is fair. Like what I said before as well. So if BP, or not just BP, let's just say the entirety of the entire European district, including United Kingdom, if all of them need energy, their chances are they're getting it from Russia. Okay, their chances they are getting it from Russia, and because if Russia currently is, in a situation with Ukraine, they are not going to be producing a lot of oil, a lot of energy for all the European countries, and because of this, they have to get it from somewhere else, and they might have to get it for a lot more expensive from somewhere else. But at the same time, you do have to understand, profit is a profit to me. And because of what BP actually did, the potential loss is actually under the assumption that oil prices continues to go up, and BP eventually have to find other points of production, aka from Saudi Arabia and such, and for them to or from Iran and such, for them to actually take the to actually buy back the oil and gas production from there. But yeah. Will resign from Rosneft board. Okay. I mean, it's unclear how BP will exit the Rosneft stake during the tumultuous time for Russian companies, which face a growing array of sanctions and the limit on their ability to access the global financial system. All of that could affect BP's ability to recover the holding's full value. Okay, I mean, to be fair, I'm not sure how much the BP actually entered on this position either. It is possible for BP to actually enter in like 2008 or 2009 and such. So there is the possibility for a loss, but like I said before, I truly do not think that the loss is that huge. I can see the potential of the loss being high, but I don't see the actual realized loss being that high at all. Even after the foreign exchange is done. BP decision reflected a rapidly escalating pullback by Western businesses facing moral and political pressure to sever Russian relationship following the country's military campaign against Ukraine. Yeah, okay. I think this is basically them just going through the deal. Okay. High food prices to pressure inflation this year. I think this is something that we already know about. But honestly, I'm just going to tell you guys right now. I did say that I did not think food prices are going to be going so high this year or the next. I always thought that food prices would usually kind of just float around the 1 to 3%, be up or down 1 or 3%. And clearly, it is doing a lot more this year. So maybe that I don't want to say I'm 100% wrong for now, but of course I do see that food prices is definitely going to be pressuring inflation this year. I do think that that's a possibility, but I'm not gonna be as audacious as Jerome Powell to call it transitory, even though I'm reading this kind of article. Okay, so rising food prices are emerging as a significant headwind to the economic recovery from the pandemic this year, particularly in the developing countries where food accounts for an important share of household consumption. Russia's invasion of Ukraine could make those headwinds even stronger. The price of basic staples such as your wheat, your corn, and soybeans rose steeply last year, which would translate into higher grocery prices worldwide this year. All right. So for people who want to ask, like, why would this actually affect a lot of like this whole Ukraine-Russia situation? Why would it cause food prices to actually go up? Because let's just put it this way. Russia and Ukraine, like I said before, it will be your aluminum, nickel, and wheat. So we just take wheat because this is part of the food segment. So if wheat is currently of lesser supply, the demand is going to stay the same, okay? So prices of wheat is going to go up. So let's just say if the wheat is now going up in price, people who used to want to buy wheat, they'll probably be like, you know what, instead of me consuming wheat, how about I consume like barley instead? And because of this, barley or all the other staples in general are going to have a normal rise in inflation. Let's just say a 1% rise across the board. Every one of them rise 1%. And because of this, wheat, on the other hand, is rising by 5% because of this whole Russia and Ukraine situation. And because of this is what, just having one commodity being like cut off from the supply, it can easily have a lot of consequences that is being spread out across the same level of commodities, such as your staples in general. So yeah, even if food commodities inflation slows, as many forecasters expect, households will still face higher grocery bills in the months ahead. I would assume so. I went to the supermarket on Saturday and I bought things for myself to cook, and I only bought for like about 4 days worth or 5 days worth of food, and I was at like $100 or so. Well, in USD, it would be about, like about $70 or so. But yeah, pretty expensive in my opinion. But I can see it even increasing in the near future as well. So we'll see how it goes actually. So okay, yeah, but Russian invasion of Ukraine poses another risk. The two countries combined amount for 29% of global wheat exports, like I said before. According to the U.S. Agricultural Department, those exports could take a hit if Western sanctions target Russian export, or if the conflict affects the ports that ship most of Ukraine's wheat. Like I said before, the wheat is a huge deal. Okay, it's a huge deal, which is why I can see this actually being. Oh my God, I didn't know. Okay, I didn't know about this. Russian missile strikes have hit Ukraine port cities, including Odessa, and a ship chartered by Cargill, one of the world's largest food suppliers, was hit by a projectile in the Black Sea on Thursday. This is my condolences. All right, enough of this. All right, I think this happened on Friday, where China State's Bank restricting financing for Russian commodities. I think that this actually happened before the weekend, which is why this is kind of old news. I just thought that it was quite interesting that China is kind of saying that, okay, you know what, Russia, you're going too far. Okay, you are doing too much, and we're not going to be backing you. That kind of thing. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. All right. Let's see. Yeah, we already talked about this. Okay, hacker destroyed data at key Ukraine agency before invasion. Ministry of Internal Affairs oversees the national police. Okay, so in the build-up of Russian invasion, hackers detonated a powerful data destroying software on the network of Ukraine's Ministry of Internal Affairs, and they siphoned off a large amounts of data from the country's telecommunication network, according to 3 people involved in the investigation into the incidents. The attacks dealt a blow to a key Ukrainian law enforcement agency responsible for overseeing the national police, while giving the hackers potentially valuable insights into the communications and the movement of people inside the countries before Russian troops began their assault. They requested anonymity because they weren't authorized to discuss the confidential investigation publicly. All right, so this is basically wartime, and that is one of the whole how war basically works. People have to go in to do this sabotaging and hacking. Very, very clearly, we already expected the next world war is going to be fought on the cybernet, and this is one of the reasons why. And something that is quite interesting, I'm actually going to search this up right now, which is that Elon Musk actually came up to say that he is going to help Ukraine by activating Starlink. For the Ukraine to actually use internet, because their internet was down and such, and because of that, Elon Musk basically turned it on using his yeah, over here. So Elon Musk, while you try to colonize Mars, Russia tried to occupy Ukraine. While your rockets successfully land from space, Russian rockets attack Ukrainian civil people. We ask you to provide Ukraine with Starlink stations and to address saying Russians to stand. Starlink service is now active in Ukraine. More terminals en route. This is why I truly think that Elon Musk is the Iron Man in our universe. I truly believe so. Him doing this, it kind of gave me that feels of when in Iron Man 1, where Tony Stark basically said that I single-handedly privatized world peace or something along that line. And I was like, I'm very, very happy to see that Starlink is actually being useful in time of war, especially when Elon Musk basically just, yeah, no problem. Okay, we're gonna send it down to Ukraine. We'll make sure that there's gonna be more terminals for the Ukrainians. We're gonna set it up all over Ukraine for you guys, that kind of thing. I thought that that's very, very smart. One thing is because, of course, exposure during this whole times of like noise and a lot of wartime and such. Of course, we do not want to talk about marketing at this kind of timing, but I do think that, Elon Musk is doing something great. Okay, he's helping the people out. And also at the same time, Starlink is something that people don't really know a lot about, especially with Tesla kind of just overshadowing all the other products that Elon Musk is actually, dwindling with. So, pretty smart. All right. Anyway, that's beside the point. Yeah, the US sanction, we already know about that. Yep, okay, all these are all done. Let's see. I'm just gonna look at the SPY before we actually end this news covering for the day. SPY currently at down 1.65%. Let's see what is the QQQ doing. QQQ down 1.47%. And yeah, basically all of them are kind of down. As long as they are in the pre-market, they are down. Ford is down 2.3%. Peloton down 1.35%, which I can assume that it will go down even more. It's just that because there's not enough buyer, no one wants to buy. And I think that's the reason why there is a lagging indicator on the price itself. Robinhood is down 1.46%. Similar to Peloton, I do think that there is a lagging indicator on the buying orders as well. But yeah, that's all. That's all I have for today's news covering. Thank you guys so much for watching. And anyway, before I go off, check out my video on the V-shaped recovery amidst war. This is basically like a follow-up video to that as well. And also check out the links in my description box below. I heard that Moomoo is actually giving out a lot of free stocks, up to 5 free stocks if you use my link down below. If you deposit $2,700 into your account. Of course, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.